Naruto is underrated. Now, when I say that, some people might think I mean, oh, I think Naruto beats Ichigo, or I think Naruto beats Luffy, but I'm not talking about that in the slightest. In fact, I don't even plan to comment on Naruto's quote unquote power tier from versus battle wiki or anything like that throughout this entire video. I could care less if Naruto is mountain level, universal, whatever. In fact, I don't even plan on commenting on the versions of Naruto that people think get that high. I'm talking about specifically Naruto in Naruto Shippuden and prior to the war arc, because I think the war arc is where a lot of Naruto's being underrated stops. And I think if anything, at that point, that's when people start to overrate Naruto. But again, not here to comment on that. I'm here to mainly focus on, 'cause I'm not going to comment on any part one stuff either, mainly focusing on early Shippuden, because I think a lot of the downplay of Naruto just comes around that general area. I'll get into the reasons why later on, but for now, I think it's better if I just get directly into the ways that I think Naruto is downplayed. And the first way I could think of that people don't really think about, no one really considers this, is Naruto's training method that literally only Naruto can do. Like in the entire world at this point in the series, this is around the Kakuzu arc, there's a training method implemented that can literally shrink training down by hundreds of years into just weeks. And Naruto is the only person in the verse that can do it. Now, Kakashi does tell us this is because of Naruto's massive chakra supply. Obviously, since he has so much chakra, he can create tons and tons and tons of shadow clones. And because he could do this, each shadow clone's experience then gets transferred onto Naruto's original body. So he can basically spam learn everything. Like if you sent Naruto to read all of Naruto and you had him make 72 clones, each one could read one volume and he could get done with it all in maybe just an hour or so. But that's besides the point. Kakashi does mention here, and this is another way that I think people kind of misinterpret how powerful Naruto is. Kakashi mentions here that Naruto normally has 4 times his amount of chakra. But then he says, and this is the part of the statement that's really important that people seem to miss. Then he says, if he wasn't suppressing the 9 tails, it would be 100 times Kakashi's chakra. And that's why Yamato is there. Yamato is there to suppress the 9 tails while Naruto isn't. Naruto's chakra supply on its own normally suppresses the 9 tails. So Naruto is essentially at a fraction of his chakra a lot of the time. We know this to be the case because when Naruto actually does use Kurama in full in the war arc, when he is completely drained of chakra, Kurama fills Naruto's own chakra back up, and then he's able to share it with the entire Shinobi Alliance, amping them by more than 3 times Kakashi's chakra. And at this point, there is still over 10,000 people left in the Alliance. That would get to the conclusion that Kurama, at least, has over maybe 30,000 times Kakashi's chakra amount, lowballing it. It's bare minimum 10,000 times. So Kakashi cannot be saying that Kurama plus Naruto only equals 100 times his chakra. What he has to be saying here is that Naruto alone, without suppressing Kurama, is 100 times his chakra amount. And this makes sense for the training method as well, because Naruto can make 1,000 clones so he can learn things much faster. But if Kakashi could also do the same thing, because he only has 1/4 of Naruto's chakra, he should be able to make 250 clones, especially since he can copy jutsu literally with his Sharingan. He should be able to make 250 clones and at least replicate 1/4 of what Naruto is doing. It makes a lot more sense if Kakashi can only replicate 1/100th of what Naruto is doing, so he can't implement the training method himself. And like I said, that's why Yamato is there. Yamato is there to make sure the 9 tails doesn't start seeping out, which is why he can't get sleep, but Kakashi can sit down, blah, 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 blah. That should just give you an idea of how much power Naruto is working with. You got to keep in mind, Kakashi is an elite Jonin at this point. Chakra develops as you get older. He says this to Sasuke in part 1. Sasuke shouldn't be able to do fire style at his young age because his chakra is not developed enough. Kakashi is a full-grown man at this point. If anything, he's only going to get less chakra from here on out, unless he trains his body a lot like we know he does in the war arc. But if anything, he's only going to get less chakra from here on out. So Naruto is basically just completely eclipsing Kakashi's peak in chakra amount, and he can literally only go up from here because he's only 16. And we know that Uzumaki, because of their large chakra supply, have extremely high life force. So Naruto is only going to go up from here, and then when Naruto actually gets at his peak of whatever chakra amount he can have, he's going to stay at it longer than what normal people would, just because of his strong life force. Now, the next part and where I think Naruto is underrated, quote unquote, would be his fight and overall interaction with Kakuzu. I've commented on this before, most recently in the video I did with Seth on if Naruto and Sasuke were to swap fights throughout the story, where I was saying that Naruto should actually scale to Kakuzu whenever they interact with each other. There's a few reasons I say this, but mainly we're going to focus on the fact that Naruto hit Kakuzu with the Rasen Shuriken not one time, but 2 times. The first time, obviously, we know it fizzled out, but we see Kakuzu wincing in pain and Naruto literally pushing him to the side with the Rasen Shuriken. And then the second time, we all know Kakuzu, unfortunately, got splattered by it. But the part that's, again, super important here is that Naruto does say that he needs to use clones in order to make sure that this jutsu lands. A lot of this has been misinterpreted, or I feel misinterpreted anyway. I think you can easily interpret this in a way that Naruto is using clones specifically and only to make sure that the Rasen Shuriken makes contact with Kakuzu. You can't have anything in the way of getting to your goal, especially whenever Naruto can only use this jutsu 1 or 2 times per day. It's 50% complete at this point. He does not have complete mastery over it. And we see even when he does use the clones, it still fizzles out. So he needs to make sure that the jutsu can land on Kakuzu. Now, Kakuzu knows this. Kakuzu sees the Rasen Shuriken as a threat to his well-being. He says it, I think, on 2 separate occasions that he cannot let that jutsu hit him. And that is a jutsu befitting of the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, which you can even try to sum up and make it say that Naruto at this point is stronger than the Two Tails, but I might touch on that a little bit later. So Kakuzu knows that this Rasen Shuriken is a threat. Naruto tricks him with shadow clones 2 times in order to land this jutsu. When Kakuzu is getting the Rasen Shuriken slammed into him, he's literally looking at Naruto like he's on panel, doesn't know what to do. This form Kakuzu is in is also extremely important because this is literally, as far as we know anyway, Kakuzu's strongest form. He's literally using 3 hearts at the same time at this point. And in the data books, it says that Kakuzu has no blind spots when he's in this mode. Whether this means he has sensory or something along those lines with the mask in him as well is up to your own interpretation. But it does say that he has no blind spots, and Naruto, like I said, hit him twice. This is aside from the fact that when the Rasen Shuriken landed, it obviously completely obliterated Kakuzu in what the volume extras seem to call a display of power that rivals the 4th Hokage. Rivaling the 4th Hokage in power is a bit ambiguous. We don't really know what that means. We don't know if it means that, oh yeah, Minato used to one-shot all his opponents as well, or if it's talking about the literal explosion it caused as a display of power. I wouldn't say it means that Naruto scales to Minato in AP. Maybe it also means Minato could hit on a cellular level. We don't really know. Just getting at the idea that it does say that. Even the statement itself is just impressive, and it just goes to show that Naruto in this way is downplayed at least a little bit. At least in my opinion, I think it shows that, because a lot of people don't interpret the fight that way when I think that's really how it's meant to be interpreted. But I don't know. If you think I'm tweaking, obviously, you can just leave a comment. I don't really mind. Another part about this is that Kakashi compares himself to Naruto, saying that Naruto surpassed him, but then he seemingly backtracks the statement, and it doesn't really make sense. But when we get the peer into how him and Tsunade had a conversation about the Rasen Shuriken, it makes a little bit more sense. So Kakashi's like, okay, Naruto's got this crazy jutsu. He literally just one-shot Kakuzu. Maybe he surpassed me at this point. He's probably surpassed me at this point, right? Then he talks to Tsunade. Tsunade's like, Kakashi, tell Naruto to never use that jutsu again. Do not use that jutsu again. So then when he goes to talk to Naruto, he's like, oh yeah, you might end up surpassing me one day. So it's kind of like Naruto had the way of surpassing Kakashi. Now he can't use it anymore. So it's like, okay, well, we know you can, so maybe you'll surpass me again one day. We do know that Naruto without the Rasen Shuriken is not stronger than Kakashi, though. That much is confirmed whenever Naruto does learn Wind Style Rasengan and him and Kakashi clash, and it's just Kakashi's base Rasengan and they equal out, if anything. So yeah, Kakashi should be overall stronger than Naruto as well. You know, he's got Chidori or Lightning Blade on top of that. But I don't really think that people, you know, there was too much contention surrounding that. Now, a lot of people, from what I can tell, downplay Naruto just due to his shortcomings without actually realizing why Naruto has those shortcomings or what those shortcomings overall entail. Basically, if they are actually shortcomings rather than, you know, these other people are just that exceptional. These are things like Naruto got his Two Tails form sealed by Kakashi. He was unable to catch up to Deidara. He was weaker than Sasuke for the majority of early Shippuden. And people's general disappointment in his lack of power post time skip. The last one is fairly understandable. We know during this time, Naruto increased his stats a little bit, at least according to the data book. He learned a bigger Rasengan and how to counter Genjutsu, albeit ineffectively. So I'm not going to touch on that one for those reasons, and the fact that I have an entire video about the Naruto time skip coming sometime in the near future. But the first three I do think are fairly important. Getting his Two Tails form sealed by Kakashi is seemingly like a huge anti-feat because it's Two Tails Naruto. He's super powered up, he's super rage amped and whatnot. But it is worth noting that Kakashi comes up at Naruto from behind. And when Naruto's in Two Tails form, he's not being completely controlled by Kurama yet. He still has some sense of himself. So all of the massive chakra control and things like that that Kurama can do shouldn't be attributed to Naruto here. So it's kind of like giving a kid a whole bunch of power and he doesn't really know how to use it. Not saying Naruto can't use his chakra. We know he can, and we know he can quite effectively because he can use the Rasengan, but he can't use it as effectively as Kurama. So Kakashi getting Naruto here off guard with a pre-made seal by Jiraiya who prepared him for instances like this, it's not really an anti-feat for the Two Tails form of Naruto. Being unable to catch up to Deidara isn't really an anti-feat either, considering that Deidara is literally flying and Naruto can't fly. This is more like a type matchup type of thing, like Pokemon, rather than an actual display of power. We do also know that Deidara isn't trying to fight at this point. Naruto is, but you know, he can't get up that high. So I don't think that this is a anti-feat either. Being weaker than Sasuke for a majority of early Shippuden also isn't too much of an anti-feat. We know that Sasuke, just because of how much he was training with the Orochimaru, learning forbidden jutsu and whatnot, that when they got back to the Leaf Village, Sakura and Tsunade actually theorized that Sasuke wasn't growing on his own and that he was just on drugs. He's literally doing chakra amping or performance enhancing drugs in order to get this strong. So this is more of a case of Sasuke being a bigger prodigy than Naruto. And some of it has to do with the fact that Sasuke doesn't have a limit put on him. He actually has an increaser put on him, while Naruto has a limiter put on him. I already went over earlier how Naruto has to suppress the Nine Tails on a day-to-day basis, basically suppress himself on a day-to-day basis, while Sasuke thinks about hatred and only gets stronger on a day-to-day basis. So when you factor in that, it kind of makes a lot more sense why earlier on Sasuke was a lot stronger than Naruto, but then when Naruto starts to remove these limiters or get other types of amps, then he can keep up with Sasuke much better. And after this, the only real thing Naruto does for a long time, or it's not even does, he just gets called dangerous by Obito for beating Kakuzu and taking out 2 of his hearts. Obito does say this to Pain, but we both know, everyone knows, base Naruto at this point with the Rasen Shuriken is not doing anything to Pain. This is probably just Obito just saying, you know, watch out, don't die. So it's not a statement like, oh yeah, Naruto should be able to beat Pain with the Rasen Shuriken. Maybe if it landed it would, but Pain's not getting hit by a Rasen Shuriken. At least not by this form of Naruto. Another thing is Naruto learned Sage Mode really quickly. I think if you map out the time, Naruto learned Sage Mode in a week. It's between like 4 days and 2 weeks that Naruto learned Sage Mode. And he did that all on his own skill. If anything, he had a limiter while he did it because Jiraiya had Ma and Pa obviously to help him go on his shoulders to enter Sage Mode. Naruto couldn't do that because Kurama was there, so he literally learned Sage Mode all on his own skill in a super short amount of time. Naruto's understanding of him and Sasuke's final battle as well, when you factor in the fact that he knew why he would have to acquire KCM and why he would needed to fight Sasuke, is also pretty good, because Naruto, when he's on the way to the bridge where Sasuke fought Danzo because Kakashi and Sakura are there, he's literally wondering like why is Sasuke doing things like this? If I could just see Sasuke, I could get my answer. Then he comes there, he sees Sasuke, and things start to become a lot more clear. Around this time, Naruto starts acting a lot more mature. This is when he tells Sasuke, either you're gonna kill me or we're both gonna die. If we fight, we're both gonna die. That's just how it's gonna be. Because we do know at this point, he started to realize that Indra and Ashura, or he started to be aware of, he didn't know who they were. He started to be aware of Indra and Ashura and the things that they, the reincarnation cycle, basically. I keep stumbling over my words. But yeah, he started to be aware of that. We do know that because of his conversation with Hagoromo later on. And then when he's talking to the giant sage frog and the other frogs in Mount Miyaboku, and they're telling him about the Nine-Tails chakra, he says that he would need the Nine-Tails chakra in order to fight Sasuke. I don't think that this is really a scaling implication. I think it's more of a hatred type of implication. The Nine-Tails is basically seen as this giant ball of hatred. His chakra itself is just pure hatred. That's what the frogs tell him. And I think that Naruto beating the Nine-Tails is supposed to be Naruto conquering hatred, showing that he can actually go and fight Sasuke now, because that's what he needs to do in order to break this cycle. And that's kind of what Naruto's all about, breaking cycles and whatnot. We didn't know he eventually ends up breaking it. While it might be that Naruto thinks he needs KCM while Sasuke goes and gets his EMS, might be true, but I think it's far more likely that Naruto's just talking about his mastery of his mastery of hatred and his mastery of Kurama's chakra, rather than him actually being physically powerful enough to beat down Sasuke. The downplay, like I mentioned earlier, mostly stops here. This is when we get into warrior territory, and like I said, I do think that around this time, this is mainly when people start to overrate Naruto than underrate him. But that's, you know, a whole nother video that I probably won't ever make. But yeah, that's all I really have to say. Like and subscribe, obviously, and have a nice day.